So having been a credit CDS trader and a distressed debt trader my whole life, what is credit? What is a credit default swap? It's basically an insurance policy on the default of any counterparty. It started, and in my case, it was on distressed debt, not distressed debt, but junk debt or lower quality debt. But it goes all the way up the credit quality spectrum, all the way to sovereign debt, which is typically the highest rated credits within any country. So, the S&P and Moody's will have a cap on the ability of a company to be rated higher than the sovereigns. Then one day there was a time when the drug companies in the US were rated higher than the credit quality of the USA. But at the end of the day, understand what happens. You have various tranches of credit risk as measured by the credit rating agencies, subjective credit rating agencies. Here's the truth. If the USA could not print money to solve their debt burden, they'd be the equivalent of a CCC rated corporation, because the USA does not even cover its interest expense one turn from its EBITDA, if you will, or free cash flow. Why? Because the USA has entitlement spending and it has military spending, and the residual is not enough to pay for the interest expense. So the USA is a zombie borrower, but it can print money. So there is a credit default swap market that prices the probability of default of the USA. It's not zero because of things like potentially a failing country, but it still is very minute compared to the risk of corporate credits in the CCC realm, the zombie company realm. Nonetheless, you can look at Bitcoin as being insurance on the failure of a basket of fiat currencies, a basket of sovereign debt. And in that calculation, you can take the open market CDS spreads and multiply those CDS spreads by the outstanding debt of a nation. And let's do it really quickly for the USA. All right. 5-year CDS to make the math easy on the USA. 5-year CDS on the USA, we're going to use a number of 40 basis points. That's low, but that's an open market credit default swap rate on 5-year CDS, which means it's got an 8 basis point per year tenor. Okay, you take 5 years, you divide it by the 40 basis point cost of the credit default swap. What does 40 basis points mean? It means it costs you $40,000 a year to insure $10 million of US debt against default. Seems like a fairly minute amount of insurance to protect, or premium, an insurance premium, to protect $10 million of US debt, but it's not zero, which is to say there's a default risk according to the market. So if 5 years is 40, what would a 20-year CDS equivalent? They don't trade at 20 years, but let's put out a 20-year number. 20 times 8 per year gives you 160 basis points. Now, the total funded and unfunded liabilities of the United States of America is approaching 200 trillion US dollars. 30 trillion or 32 trillion of funded debt, though that's debt that's existing in the system, and another 170 trillion of unfunded liabilities, which include future Medicare and Medicaid obligations and Social Security to the public. So $200 trillion is the liability just of the United States, Michelle. You take 160 times 200 trillion, and you get, I'm doing it in my head, $3.2 trillion would be the implied insurance value on the United States. $3.2 trillion just on the United States. What is Bitcoin trading for? Well, about $500 billion. Oh my God. If people embrace the thesis that Bitcoin could be viewed as credit default swap insurance on USA and all other countries, well, it's trading about 1/7 of its value just for the USA. And here's the really cool thing. There's no counterparty risk.